So over the New Year's holiday, Peak Fiction just hit Netflix very quietly. And no, I'm not talking about Stranger Things finale. I'm talking about 100 Meters, the anime about running your ass off. That's basically the plot of the movie. It's about a guy that wants to run the 100-meter dash, and he wants to be the best, and he is destined for that. We follow a character named Togashi who comes across various kinds of characters in the world of the 100-meter dash, and he comes across people that have different philosophies about why they run. And that sounds like a boring premise by itself, but when it comes to anime, literally any type of premise could be a really amazing story if the author pulls it off. And man, Uoto once again nails it out of the park. This is the same dude that wrote and illustrated Orb on the Movements of the Earth. Arguably the best anime that I've seen in the last decade. It's really up there with like upper echelon anime that I love. I did get to go see this earlier this year and did not get to review it because I felt like I needed to watch it again to really sit with everything that I was feeling the first time that I watched it. But now, after having seen it again on Netflix, easily one of the best movies that I've seen overall, not just in animation, but just in general. It's one of the best movies, period, of 2025. Let me just get this part out of the way. The animation is just on another level. Like I've never heard of this studio before. Rock and Roll Mountain, never heard of this anime production. I need more of what they're doing, because what do you mean you brought back rotoscoping? I cannot tell you how much I've been begging for rotoscoping to be more of a normal practice. I understand it's very time consuming and probably difficult. Compared to like some of the CGI that we've been seeing over the years, it's gotten better. CGI has definitely gotten better with blending into the 2D, but something about just everything being hand-drawn and specifically using motions of actual live actors to recreate the human movement. I could not picture anything better in terms of technique for an anime about running the 100-meter dash. When you see people's movements, it looks like you're looking at a live-action movie. The way that people's limbs move, the way that you see people's heads move back and forth after they've just finished like running. When you see somebody's like hair whipping back when they've just finished a race, everything moves like it's a real life person there. It's freaky. And it's not just the animation, it's the way that they frame these shots. There's like a lot of intentional cinematic language being used in this movie. There's lots of framings that put you in the mind state of a character, whether it's like a zoom in on somebody's leg and you start seeing the leg vibrating when they're going through like a health or a mental health condition. Everything is really dialed to 11 when it comes to emphasizing how a character is feeling in a moment, in a scene, whether it's before, during, or after a race. The director, the writers, the whole production team, you can tell they clearly love this manga. There's a lot of shots that were probably not intended in the original manga. I've never read the manga, but the way that they choose to show you a character's mindset or an action, it's just unreal. I'm just going to go ahead and just talk about the 3-minute long take where the racers are going up to the track in the middle of the rain. And the way that the rain is animated and illustrated, the way that the backgrounds look painted, completely grayed and washed out, that could have easily looked really cheap and messy and ugly. And it was one of the most gorgeous shots that I've seen in an anime just in general. And that long take of seeing these racers get ready, and again, the use of rotoscope, just beautifully rendered, beautifully executed. You get the sort of mannerisms and the mind state of every individual racer as they're getting ready to run. That long take is genuinely one of my most favorite scenes ever in the movie. And it's not even seeing them run. Like, you barely get to see the running aspect. The running part is really short, but just being able to see every character's mind state while they're preparing for the race. How do you make people invested in something like that where it's somebody just getting ready for the race? Like, that's how good the whole production team and the director was with bringing this story to life. The more I think about this movie, the less I have to talk about in terms of negatives. I really don't feel like I have anything negative to say, other than I wish that this was maybe like a limited series where we could sit with most of the characters for a longer time. I feel like they have a lot of interesting characters that I don't feel like I get enough time to sit with, but that's made up with the conversations that these characters do have with each other. The very limited screen time that these characters have you get to know quite a bit about them in their philosophies about why they run. And again, this goes to the genius writing of Uoto, who I believe he was a philosophy major in college before he decided to leave that and just be a manga artist, which is crazy because that's exactly the main thrust in his other work, Orb on the Movements of the Earth. It's a very philosophical, very conversational, heavy story with bits of action, of course. But Uoto is able to grip you with his writing in terms of how characters interact with each other. You could do live action adaptations of these like properties on HBO or something, and it would probably be like stellar. It would be like winning awards and stuff. I love that we're exploring the question of why do we run? And it's a very specific question to this story in terms of running the 100-meter dash, but it's also asking a more broader question that we can all relate to, which is why do we do the things that we do? And that can apply to anything that anybody does. Like, why do you love to paint? Why do you play music? Why do you want to be a YouTuber? Like, it's such a relevant question when they're specifically just talking about why do we run. The thing with chasing your passions and your interests, your dreams, the scary part of it isn't really whether you succeed or not. It's more of what's the reason for it? Why am I doing what I'm doing? Is what I'm doing making me feel fulfilled? Is it making me happy still? Winning the 100-meter dash is not the point in this story at all. We're really just following multiple characters and not really deciding what's the best reason for why somebody is doing the 100-meter dash. The whole point is to explore why anyone does this to begin with. We start the exploration of why people run with the Togashi character. He's our main character, he's our protagonist. He's the child star athlete who is gifted, who is destined to do great things. And we see him throughout his career of his highs and lows, as he's somebody that never really knew why he was doing what he was doing. When Togashi first meets Komiya, a kid who is trying to be good at running the 100-meter dash but is really out of shape and not really talented in any way, he explains simply that if you run the 100-meter dash, it can solve almost any problem. And that mantra basically helps Komiya discover his path on why he wants to run, but it's never really explained fully what Togashi means by that. We see that for Togashi, that philosophy works for him. He ends up having a career in running, and for the most part, it's fairly easy to him until he starts meeting that hurdle of not knowing if he wants to continue or not. And I love that throughout the movie, we gradually see that he's not really sure why he's doing what he's doing. His philosophy that he originally runs with is not really working for him anymore. And we have to see Togashi reflect on himself, on his past as he gets older, and really think about, is this something that I want to keep doing? Why am I doing this? Why am I putting my body through this? And I love that his character gets challenged on his ideals. We have other characters that have their own philosophies that work for them. Like, for example, we have Kaido. This dude looks like he's like maybe 45 years old. He also is basically just Nowak from Orb on the Movements of the Earth. Like, his character design is basically a spitting image of Nowak. And I had issues trusting this man because you'd never once see his eyes either. He's always wearing shades. The Kaido character was really fascinating. I wish we stuck with him longer and got to know him more, because he was really fascinating in how he basically deludes himself into thinking, one day I will beat the record holders for the 100-meter dash. Even though I'm past my prime, I just have to escape my reality. I have to face what I don't want to accept that, and then confront it and challenge that. I thought that was really awesome. I love that his philosophy is sort of just being like, you have to be a little bit delusional to think that you can actually win that ultimate prize, that ultimate achievement. And I think that's true to some degree. Like, if you're doing something like some sort of art form or doing YouTube or anything, and you really want to find some sort of success, you have to be a little bit kind of like, not crazy, but I guess a little bit delusional, a little bit of a dreamer, so to speak, to really push yourself to really get to levels that you otherwise wouldn't reach if you were just completely holding back on yourself. Because when Kaido finally wins his race and beats the record holder, who I believe his character's name is Zaitsu, that I was not expecting that. I thought that I was going to see his dreams get crushed. He's going to like just walk off. But we see that he actually pulls through on his philosophy of escaping reality. He got to do that for that one brief moment of finally beating someone like Zaitsu and holding that record. And then the Zaitsu character was also really fascinating. When we first see him, he answers Komiya's questions about, you know, how to handle anxiety as a performer, as someone that is performing in front of a crowd for the 100-meter dash. And Zaitsu is completely committed to the act of running and giving it your all, accepting that life is very short and that you have to give everything that you have. And he has this very interesting thing that I kind of relate to. I've actually done performances in front of people before. I play piano, so I've had to perform in front of live audiences before. And the thing that I took away with Zaitsu that I really related to was his little speech on how to basically accept that things are going to stress you out, things are going to give you anxiety, and you have to learn to hone and harness some of that energy so that you can enjoy what you're doing. He specifically says something along the lines of enjoying being stressed or enjoy being anxious. And it's very similar to kind of the philosophy that I took to help myself be more comfortable in performing in front of people. Or even when I like work out at the gym, I kind of have to think to myself to kind of learn to enjoy the pain of pushing further so that I can get to that next step. But then later in the movie, when he's older and Komiya is getting closer to achieving his goals, Zaitsu does a complete 180. He doesn't really care about the glory of winning anymore. He's gotten older and his life perspective has completely changed. And when he brings up his philosophy of why he runs, he tells Komiya, I don't want to be all the way in first place anymore because it feels just as lonely as being in last place, and that is not a good feeling. I feel my best when I'm running alongside somebody beside me, when I have true competition. True healthy competition is what brings me joy in running. And then when Komiya just completely just like cuts him off, he's like, no thanks, I have my own way. I was just like, bro, come on. Because Komiya is a really, really fascinating case study of a character who, again, we don't know much about him, but it sounds like he grew up with a pretty rough upbringing where the situation with his home life wasn't very stable. He felt very lonely. He clearly had issues that were bothering him because his whole reason for running was to run away and blur his reality around him so that he could just forget about those problems for a short minute. And I thought that was really fascinating to see how that philosophy has warped and changed him over the years as he became a young adult. And for him to come to a place of being completely lost and disillusioned, not really knowing why he's doing what he's doing. And when he asks Togashi later on in life, when he asks, why do we run for these short single moments? What is it all for? Togashi simply comes to the answer of, it's all a matter of giving our best. And it's like such a short, simple, cliched answer, but it's also like kind of true. When you become an adult, you kind of forget about the basic necessities, the basic simplicities of just simply enjoying something. When we get lost in the accolades and the fame and the glory and the status and respect, we forget about the whole basis of why we do what we do to begin with, which is simply enjoying what we're doing and doing our absolute best and putting absolutely all of us into this thing, whatever that may be. We forget that that alone can give you fulfillment. And that's something that I have to always remember as well. Whether I'm doing something like a YouTube video or learning a new song to play, I have to remember that the whole reason that I'm doing this thing is not because that I'm trying to be the best ever. It's because I simply enjoy doing this thing. I love this thing. It speaks to me. It's a way for me to express myself in some sort of way. Which brings me to the ending of this movie. So spoilers. I feel like I've kind of talked about a bit of spoilery stuff, but not really. I think the main spoiler is the ending of like, so how does it pan out with the final race, right? I love that we don't know who wins the final race that we see. I love that after Togashi and Komiya have their conversation about why they do what they do, everything changes. Every single character is locked in, but specifically Komiya and Togashi, they're running, but then at one point you just see how their faces completely change and they just lock the hell in. And they look like they're like the only two racers that are really challenging each other. It's kind of hard to tell who's in which place, but it looks like we're just really focused on Togashi and Komiya. And you can tell each one of them is genuinely trying to win. Togashi has a busted leg that he's really risking. He's just risking his whole career at this point to do this one more race. Man, I thought the worst case scenario was going to happen. I thought Togashi was going to just blow his leg out and that would be it. And we see Komiya win. and it would be like this bittersweet ending. But instead, we get this shot of Komiya and Togashi back as children, running together, running against each other, just hearing their breaths. There's no dialogue, there's nothing. Just seeing them as kids. And then we cut back to them as adults, and it's just their faces just, going neck and neck with each other. And you see the expressions on their faces change from just like pure elation for the sport, for the love of the game. You see Togashi is teary-eyed, and then just like complete waterworks for him. And Komiya has like this stoic, kind of cool looking smile that turns into this big wide-eyed grin, and then it just cuts to black, and you just hear the footsteps, and you don't see who wins. You don't know who wins because it doesn't matter who wins. They both freaking won, which is corny as hell to say, but corny is good. I love the corn. That was weird. I love the corniness. I love that they finally found some sort of joy in the midst of all this turmoil, all this sort of identity crises that they've been facing for the last decade. It's funny. It kind of reminds me of the ending of Challengers. If you haven't seen Challengers, you need to see Challengers. It's one of the best movies I'd seen like 2 years ago or something. It's very similar to that ending where the two tennis players are really going hard against each other, and you can see that they're gradually regaining their passion and love for the sport. And by the end of the game, you don't see who wins, and it doesn't matter because you see them embracing each other at the net. You see that they are ecstatic. They are just completely like over the moon. They're hugging each other. That was like the same vibe that I got, except 100 meters is not nearly as homoerotic as Challengers was, but it's still like that same sort of conclusion of seeing these two characters finally come to some realization of feeling some sort of fulfillment, and it's not something that they had ever expected. By the end of this movie, I had tears in my eyes, I had a lump in my throat, and then that banger comes on at the end credits where it just goes ra shisa da 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 da. Yeah. After the second viewing, I love this movie to death. I plan to rewatch it as much as I can while it's still on Netflix. I don't know what else to say about this movie. This is something that needs to be watched. Like, if you guys are not even anime fans, this is something that you can still totally appreciate. If you're someone with any sort of hobby, even just like a simple hobby that you're trying to get better at, this movie is going to speak to you in ways that you really need to be spoken to. It's really going to heal your soul. I'm being extremely dramatic saying that, but I feel like it's also true. 100 Meters, one of the best films out there, anime or otherwise. Go check it out. It's on Netflix. I know you have Netflix. Go watch it. It's not even 2 hours long, so do yourselves a favor. Watch 100 Meters. Let me know in the comments what you thought of the movie if you've seen it. Tell me everything that you felt, thought of, if you liked it, didn't like it. I want to hear it all. If you made it this far, thank you for watching me glaze the hell out of this movie. My name is Alvin, and until next time, stay safe, y'all, and peace.